Okay, yes, I'm talking about Arsenal today. I'm talking about Arsenal, but it's been a long time coming that I needed to talk about Arsenal and the fan base and the team and the manager and how things are going in this season of all seasons. So bear in mind, recording date today is Tuesday the 27th of January 2026, which means we're a few days after the 3-2 loss at home against Manchester United. And to note, before I get into anything else, I just watched a video from a popular YouTuber called Turkish. Turkish is talking about the game and how things are going in response to that loss. I should also note that at the time of recording, Arsenal are top of the Premier League. They're top of the Champions League. They're playing Chelsea in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, and then they're also through to the next stage of the FA Cup. Okay, so the 4 competitions, that's where we currently are at. We're in a current run of form where we haven't won a Premier League game in 3 games. We've had 3 draws. Draw. 1, 2, 3. One of those tres. And in the build-up to these draws, we've gone through what I would call the winter, December period where you've got games upon games, stacking up. You're playing a game every 2 or 3 days. And every club is experiencing this push and this strain and this pain. Then we go through January, where we know that our opposition will strengthen year after year. They will spend money, they will drop cash in January every single year, and they'll improve their team simply because it may not be working the way they want it to work. But us as Arsenal, we always will not strengthen in January. We have got a team at the start, and most times out of 10 we will see that team through to the end of the season, barring a few random transfers like Arshvin or anybody else you can actually think of that we were signed in January and made an impact. Trossard, something tells me Trossard came in January, correct? So other teams strengthen, other teams have these different dynamics. We are no different to any other team. Okay, the daily challenges of that football club will not be very much different to any other team. We also saw Manchester United and Chelsea get rid of their managers in the middle of December, a practice that never happens at Arsenal. We have a legacy of backing our managers over the long term, and that's what's brought us a success to today. That's in the club's strategy. There are some new neo strategies that look at management of football clubs as a business. They look at it like, oh, you are the CEO, you're the chief executive, we don't like what you're doing, you're out. They don't care what the fans think. They don't listen to what the fans think. And they do what they want to do at the end of the day. But that's not Arsenal. That's not the club that I know and you know and we all know. Arsenal is a community club. Arsenal is a club that has such a diverse fan base, diverse experience, that when our longest serving, most successful manager was coming towards his tenure, we were polarised left and right as to those what wanted him in and out. And over the days, the months, the years, it grew from being, rather than Wenger in, it was Wenger out for a lot of people. But it was polarising because we are passionate and we're quite clear of how we feel about things. But before I criticise Arsenal, before I talk about Arsenal, you have to put it in the context of the way the Premier League exists, the way the club is run as a sustainability model. And yeah, okay, fine, the game happened. Maybe the YouTuber, maybe Turkish, is responding to what happened in the game. But no, he's taken that game and used that game as a stick to beat the whole club and the whole management system and every player and all this and all that. That's the game. Talk about the game. We love the game. We have no issues with the game. But what I won't do is let a game be used to segue the conversation to railroad and derail the progress and the success that this club is genuinely making over the long term. Yeah, in an environment where teams are super rich and they will spend their way out of issues, Arsenal have slowly built a team from scratch. Then they were brave enough to make a few extra investments in players like Eze, in players like Declan Rice, where we're splashing the cash and breaking the bank and we're doing things in the right way. We've bought homegrown players from our ends, from our area. I'm not from London, but that feeling that they lived the same lives as us, they walked the same streets as us, and they are us. We've taken a gamble on those players by spending a bit extra money on them. That would not have happened at Manchester United. The reason that wouldn't have happened at Manchester United is because it hasn't happened at Manchester United. In the 20 odd years or in the 10 years or the 15 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left, because they no longer have that connection with the people and with the community. It hasn't happened at Chelsea. It hasn't happened at City in that way. Yeah, we see what City do to players. They buy them because they need a minimum number of players, homegrown, British, and then they bench them. They hold them to one side, and when they're done with them and they're a bit older, they've taken home a paycheck and they go on their way. We've seen it. We're even seeing it with Jack Grealish to an extent. One of the top players for England in Britain was part of their title-winning squad, but all of a sudden, not good enough. Needs to go to another club. Needs to move on. So Arsenal are not Manchester City. We're not Chelsea. Chelsea are very cash-rich. They've always been very cash-rich. They'll purchase players from a wide background and in wide amounts. They have enough players in to build 3 squads. They played the team in a different squad in each of their competitions last year. Premier League, whether they were Champions League or FA Cup, and then Europa League. That was it, yeah, Europa League. No, they weren't Europa League. They were in the league even below. 3 different squads they had. That's not Arsenal. Yeah? We've had to build our squad bit by bit from the ground up. You can see the players that have been there since the beginning. Saka, even Saliba, he went out on loan. There's players that have been around Arsenal that have been there for a long time. And this is when you see the success that got us to finish second the last few years is because we did it the right way. We did football the right way. And we were getting a lot of criticism from people that saw us fall slightly short because they were seeing the best way to do football actually succeed. Nobody wanted to accept it or admit it. What they wanted to do instead was criticize and just make every excuse because it's against the way the mechanisms of football are set up these days, which is that you spend money, you win. Well, what happens if you don't spend money and you win? What happens if you buy young and you win, or if you promote from your youth team and win? We had Nketiah starting football for us like 2 seasons ago, in a season where we finished second. We had, I might need fact checking on some of these things, but what I'm talking about is the progression. We got to a certain point with Emil Smith-Rowe. We got to a certain point with Nketiah. We got to a certain point with Tierney, who was of a certain age. We got there with those players that were Arsenal through and through. And Saka is the main one from all of that. He's there from academy to now. So when people start to criticise the players that brought us back to this point, you start to lose a bit of faith in the current fan base because you're clearly not thinking clearly. Saka started playing left back under Unai Emery, and he's still there, 6-7 years later, but he's now playing right wing and scoring in attack for us. So put it into context when you're doing your breakdown videos, when you're stirring the fan base up, you're losing context, you're losing any sense of reality, which is that if you support Saka in the same way when he was a left back making a transition into the first team, now as a right winger up front trying to score a goal, he would succeed, but we criticise him and we go after him and make it seem like he's failing when the whole point of the fans is to support, not to criticise. The job of the critics is to criticise. The job of the pundits are to be making punditry comments. The job of the fans, a fanatical person, somebody that's fanatical on the side of someone, is to fight for them, advocate for them, back them up. So what you would do is you would have private conversations as Arsenal fans about how you feel about the squad. But when you speak about it in public or to your opposition, you are a united front. Why are we online talking about all these issues with the Arsenal team that we're trying to support when really we're just whipping each other up into a storm? If we have this conversation in private, Turkish, specifically you, I would guarantee you'll leave that conversation having a different feeling than the one you arrived with. But what you do instead, or what people can do instead, is they have the conversation online and then people just back them and it turns into a storm. Nobody had any kind of a critical debate, football knowledge debate conversation with Turkish's video. And if Turkish's video goes viral and hits numbers and now he's influencing the whole fan base, guess what? Turkish's video has influenced Arsenal Football Club. Turkish's video has entered your minds, people's minds, and how to look at the football club in context. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Passion is passion, but when you talk about the football club and you understand how it gets built from the ground up, it gets built by the people, by their voices, by their blood, sweat and tears, their fanatical ways, watching them, turning up in the rain, in the shine, in the shade, whatever, making sure you're there. But it extends, and the contract you have with the football club, the contract you have with your team, is that you will not bring them into disrepute. And I say that because anyone can make that mistake, but the fan base has to respond. When you do things and say things that hurt the football club, you're hurting all of us. That's what Arsenal Fan TV did, and that's why Arsenal Fan TV had such a rise of a tipping and a falling, and what is it now? It's not what it was when it began, because what it became was toxic, negative, and it was not based in reality. Yeah, the most wild and radical thoughts were getting platformed in huge numbers, all the while dividing us and pulling us apart. People should not want anything to do with any of that stuff. Fans and football and Arsenal and the community, it's not about having a conversation in a vacuum where everyone agrees with you. I'm going to check the comments of Turkish's video now after my reaction, because my reaction video is in response to his passion, but his passion is going unchecked and unfiltered. We can't let this run. Turkish, whatever environment you're in, there's a point where you have to have a conversation with someone that doesn't feel as strongly about that. And as a fan base, we come together, because this season will be lived and defined by the fans. That is where I'm putting it down to. My challenge to everybody who has stayed watching the video this long is that we will win this season based on us fans, not based on the players, because they call us the 12th man for a reason. Because when we are part of the team, when we support, when we show passion, when we're not treating the Emirates Stadium like a library, when we're actually with the team, we don't groan when a mistake is made. We don't grunt when a ball goes out for a goal kick. We say, well done. We clap. We say, good show. We say, we know you got this. We've seen you do it 100 times. That is how you be a fan. That the Emirates Stadium needs to be filled with fans. Fans need to relearn how to be fans, because right now fans are being critics. Fans are being keyboard warriors. Fans are being people that are basically trying to get attention by espousing crazy and radical views. No, that's not how you build a football club based on radicals. Any club that has an ultras, they actually have to have a policy and a process of how they manage them and how they deal with them, because they can understand how the influence of the ultras can topple the football club and turn it into a toxic environment. You know, Turkish I'm sure is well-meaning. I'm sure everyone tuning in to watch Turkish is well-meaning as well, but at some point the real fans have to step up and say, you're hurting the club. You might have paid your money, you might have watched the hours, you might have been to the games and spent 100 hours researching, talking about it, but somewhere along that way you lost your way and you didn't realise that you were hurting the same thing you claim to love. Arsenal Football Club. If anyone watching this video isn't aware of the motto, it's victory through harmony. The Latin is Victoria Concordia Crescit. Yeah? It'll be woven into different shirts you'll have in your wardrobes, you know, in your memorabilia. It'll be there in the programs that you've gone to the games and you've got. But did any one of you sit down and take notice of what it actually said? Victory through harmony. So the moment we're not harmonious, the moment we're not shared on the same page, guess what? Anxiety, worry, it seeps into the stadium. It seeps into the players. The players have come and gone. They've all come in with the ability to play an Arsenal way, to an extent, because you've got a scouting system, you've got processes where you sign players goodwill, knowing that they could fit in. But you can't keep looking at the players over a 20-year span and blaming them, especially if they've had success afterwards, especially if they've had success prior. You have to look at yourselves. So you say, what can I do for my football club? Should I choose to? Should I wish to? But the good start is to support the theories and the thoughts and the talking points about your club that are more balanced, more nuanced, and they are based in something a bit more reality. It's basically a bit more in reality. You can't be just going around picking up steam from theories and thoughts that are so emotional, because if you were in the boardroom showing that level of emotion, there's no way that anyone in that boardroom would take you seriously. So why are you being taken seriously online? Why are you being taken seriously in message boards, on podcasts, when you are coming into these environments and saying such unfiltered, passionate thoughts? If you can't win people's support and opinions and energy from talking about it in a balanced way, Think about what it is you're doing. You're just playing on their emotions, which is why going into the latter parts of the season, we are starting to struggle because we are letting our emotions dictate whether we think we deserve to win the Premier League. It's not a debate whether we deserve to win the Premier League. We deserve to win it. Of course we do. It's almost factual. We've been the best team of the last 3 years in a 12-month period. Over a season, we didn't manage to get the job done. And that's more mathematics as opposed to who's the best team. We're the best team. We deserve to win the Premier League. Debate closed. Anyone who entertains anything else, you know they're doing it in bad faith. That's it. That is it. Go into detail about the players, criticise the players, but by and large, they've put the club on their backs. Martin Odegaard became the captain at an age which players don't often become the captain for. He was ready for it then. We supported him then. We can change track now, but it has to be done in a supportive way. People are calling for him to reconsider being the captain. A person that takes the captain's armband has already shown the leadership necessary for the next leaders to come after them. So anything that comes from Odegaard is because he was brave enough to be the captain in the first place. As all the other previous captains of Arsenal have been. Tony Adams, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Fabregas, Van Persie. They all were brave because they had to take it up at some point. And they all will do their best for this club, but we need to do better. We need to do better. And people will disagree with me. They will. But what you won't be able to do is say that I'm only being one-sided, because you have to contextualise everything before you go at it. Saka, he may be struggling with fitness, struggling with injuries. He may be struggling with confidence because he's a normal human being. He should have a break. That's the way we would talk about this. He needs a break. Not he needs to go and have a look at himself. Not the negativity you see online. No. We supported him in a bad time. Keep supporting him. Don't stop supporting him, because then you're not a fan. You're not a supporter. You're his critic. You're against him. You're allowed to be critical, of course, in context, but anyone watching that Man United game can see that we were wavering based on the way the crowd was responding as well. You'll have fans all around the country that were emotionally up and down because it means so much. But because it means so much, you need to have a sense of stability. Clubs that win the Premier League consistently, or even once, they have a sense of stability and confidence and self-assuredness. They're going to get it done. They will get it done. When Leicester won it that year, it's because they were so clear in their minds they had nothing to lose. And that if they won it, it's because they deserved it. We've got to ask ourselves, as a fan base, do we deserve the Premier League? We'll be grateful to our team even if we finish second by a point or on goal difference, because that's what it takes to follow your club. Is even when they lose, when they should win, do you still support them the next day? The obvious answer is yes. So why are we just being bad fans, and just why are we being these kind of fans? Be the kind of fans that say, good game, we'll see you next week, because you still got entertainment out of it. It was still fun. No one owes us a win. No one owes us the result. And we know more than most that it's been a long time. Long time. So I'm hoping it's this year, because it should be this year, because we deserve it this year, as we did in other years. But do enough of us believe that this year's our year? I'll leave that up to you. Anyway, I'm going to close it now. Keep doing more than the rest. You know the rest. And victory through harmony.